Did you all forget about the leaker who leaked automatic crafting a month prior? No, we did not. You might actually recall there were several leakers who tried to fill the void left by Roger Badgman, and one of those was Dangioni, who at the time had absolutely no proof behind anything and just said they were going to post 21 teasers. They posted this one, and then this one, and then their account got shut down, and this third one here actually turned out to be true. A hopper going into a crafting table with redstone is more or less a hint at automatic crafting, meaning that maybe, just maybe, this account is actually accurate, and so we should really look at their other predictions just to see what might also be coming true. Also, Minecraft has an official response to the mob vote this year being hacked. They had something very interesting to say about that. And then finally, there is one more secret feature that I couldn't reveal in yesterday's video that I missed out on, but actually is very interesting. It is very heavily implied that there is a new type of spawner. This is all very exciting stuff, but let's jump right into it with the Dangioni stuff. If you haven't been following the channel, I'm very skeptical about leakers until they say something that's accurate, and the Dangioni account was very suspicious because they said, yeah, after a nice sabbatical amongst the Spicewood tree, I'm back to give you 21 teasers in a little over twice as many days, and then he tweets out 3 of these teasers, and after the third one, he says, oh, Mojang enforcement got to me, I had to delete all of the tweets. And although for some being shut down is proof this is absolutely legit, to me there was no proof it was actually shut down by Mojang versus using the shutdown to look super legit like Roger Badgman is, and so I very much dismissed this. However, we have seen some version of the automatic crafter, and although that could be a lucky guess, indeed, Adventure Fighter 7501 kind of mentions that it's a very demanded feature, so it could just be a coincidence, but it's still worth looking at the other things that he hinted. So hint number 1 was a big hole. I think this is something about the deep dark right getting an update to the cave system in some way, something that happens down there. And then the second one of these is a sound emoji, the audio emote, and then a briefcase. I really have no idea what they could be implying by this. You can lock sounds together. He specifically said this wasn't a music box, it's something else. I have no idea. But the other thing that also is kind of hinted at is in this initial tweet, he says that he was taking a sabbatical amongst the Spicewood trees. So maybe that's another hint by itself that there will be a new type of tree in this update. We can already assume that there would be, but is Spicewood likely to be that? I would say that looking at the Dangioni situation, having one accurate prediction does not make an account perfectly accurate. I can tell you right now, I think there'll be another new hostile mob inside of 1.21. It might even be a boss mob, but that doesn't mean that I have some inside information. I'm just making what I think to be a good guess. It doesn't mean I'm the prophet if it turns out to be true, and so we can't just assume that something about sound being locked up or holes or Spicewood trees are definitely coming, but it does certainly look more likely, and if we see one of those 3 things, the other 2 things are much more likely as well. And although I know it's much more fun as a YouTuber to go along with the story that, oh, these leaks are totally accurate and wow, let's stay up to date with them, I think I'm very much a skeptical person by nature, and to share that skepticism with you, the time I actually believed that this was being announced is when King Dark shared it. This is a Twitter account that I believe is fairly honest about the fact that they're not a Mojang employee, they just sleuth through the game code, and so one of the interesting things is they tweeted that there'd be automatic crafting, and they were just as shocked as anyone else. I don't think they believed Dangioni was real, but yeah, interestingly enough, they've also had a few predictions about something to do with a marketplace pass happening. There's some weird logos being found in the games, and so yeah, you might be seeing something like that. I think it's much more likely we see a marketplace pass than we are to see Spicewood trees, but that's me being a skeptic. There are many things in the world that will pretend to be true to get something from you, and if there's basically no way to verify or no track record to go on, then you really should be cautious. Speaking of being cautious, a lot of leakers and a lot of people who are familiar with the game code were very suspicious of the mob vote this year because it looked as though it could have been hacked, and so something I mentioned in my mob vote video from Monday is that I do not believe the end result was changed. It's very shocking that the armadillo won, but a lot of people might look at that video and say, wait, so if all these people are saying the mob vote is rigged, does this mean the armadillo won't come to the game? Sad face. To answer your question, Christopher Crocker 9493, Mojang actually put out a statement. They only did so via a private Discord server, but they specifically say you can communicate this with your audiences, so it's a very interesting thing. They say the team is aware that there are attempts to taint the results of the mob vote. However, rest assured these attempts did not impact the results. We are confident that this year's winner accurately reflects the results of the vote. And this is an incredibly interesting statement if you ask me, partially because they did it in a private place. I try not to share things that are only in private spaces because it's very hard to verify, but again, other YouTubers have shared this too. You can be rest assured that they have shared this, but why would they do it only privately, and why would they use the language that they did? They specifically say that the attempts did not impact the results and that the winner accurately reflects the results of the vote, but they're not saying that there aren't any fraudulent votes whatsoever. This could just be a failsafe. I think to be entirely truthful, you can't ever be sure that a democracy has been 100% fairly run run, but the goal is to have a fraud rate that is so low that it would not impact the results. And so take the results of the 1997 United Kingdom general election, because the Free parties actually got very similar in vote shares to the Free mobs this year. Suspicious, no, but more seriously, even if there were thousands of votes that were fraudulent for the biggest winner, they would still be winning because they won by millions of votes. And indeed, when you look at the armadillo's lead over the crab, even if you could prove that there were hundreds of thousands of fraudulent votes for the crab or fraudulent votes for the armadillo, it still would not impact the results because the margin between them is so thick. I think it's possible that Mojang uncovered some fake votes after the fact, maybe even after sharing these results, but ultimately they did not affect the results, and that is the important thing to know. Also, what I think is interesting is that I've spoken to some Mojang staff privately, and none of them could verify how they knew, but they all seem to think that, yeah, there was very little fraud, and the fraud that occurred was caught before the end results were shared. So just keep that in mind. It is much more likely, again, just using Occam's razor here, the most likely scenario is that we're all blindsided by the armadillo, not because it didn't deserve to win, but just because we don't expose ourselves to armadillo voters, and that's probably for good reason. If I was exposed to too many people who thought dog armor was a better idea than extended block reach, then I would start to lose faith in democracy as a whole, and I'd become a dictator or something along those lines. Thank God that hasn't happened though. Although with that said, people didn't vote blue no matter who this year, and so maybe we should all be proud. 101 people seem to agree. Am I proud of you? Well, fun fact, did you know there have been multiple mob vote winners that haven't been blue so far? I know that we have a long history, especially of like, okay, the Alley and the Glow Squid and the Phantoms. The most infamous examples of mobs are always blue. However, as we all know, the Panda came to the game and is not blue. As we all know, there is obviously the Fox, which came to the game and is very much the opposite of blue. And finally, as we all know, when we voted for the Savannah biome in 2019, you know, before the votes were counted because the elites didn't agree with the clearly best choice, that biome is not blue, and therefore we do not vote blue all of the time. Good job, community. That's independent thinking. So yeah, look forward to a vaguely brown mob coming to the game in next year, and also it will be, of course, free, something which comes into an interesting question from PortX, who says, I don't believe that Mojang has an obligation to keep updating Minecraft. They only do so as a kindness. I paid $26 for a game back in 2012. In no other game does that entitle me to 12 years of content updates. It only makes sense that Minecraft works on non-Minecraft projects now, and this is sort of true. They're working on Minecraft spin-offs. I do believe that there is going to be a Minecraft card game. I still heavily believe in that prediction, unless it becomes true, in which case I'm a leaker, I know the future, and wow, did you know people who subscribe to IBX Toycat are less likely to have something bad happen to them this year? This is not a guess, not a prediction. This is in fact factful information. Greater than 99.9% of house fires happen to non-subscribers, so, you know, do with that information what you will. But the key point that I think PortX was trying to ask is, like, why do people believe that Mojang is entitled to make them updates? The fact that they're not charging is nice enough. Why do we care about how much is in there? So first things first, this is not being done as a kindness. Every single time Minecraft releases an update, it is very nice of them to make it for free, but actually these free updates encourage people to then buy the game more. As you might know, I release free updates for my marketplace map. Every single time that I release a free update, more people realize that it exists, and then they go to the marketplace and they go and download it, which means I can justify the time and the money that we spend on actually certifying it for the marketplace every 6 months or so. And this is the exact same thing that Minecraft can do. Every year they release an update, not just out of the goodness of their own hearts, but actually because they make a lot more sales, which is what's led to Minecraft having 300 million sales. And when you compare that to the next biggest games, it becomes very clear that, yeah, there was not a Wii Sports update every month. If there was, then maybe more people would buy the game to get a hold of those updates. The idea of using updates as a way to market the game was something that Minecraft was doing differently back in 2011 or 2012, but now it is a very common model for video games, and it's something that is actually more sustainable than just selling a game, then, you know, ditching it and then making another update for another game. This is something that has led to Mojang's huge success and why they have 300 million sales, by the way. Oh, to celebrate, by the way, they released this fun little graphic where they shared that, yeah, every single day, 15 million skeletons are killed, 915 kilometers are traveled on pigback. How is that even possible, by the way? 6.7 million diamonds are discovered, 8.8 million pickaxes are crafted, meaning we craft more pickaxes than we discover diamonds. That's kind of interesting. 400,000 wolves are tamed. Wow, I bet some of those wolves could use some armor. And long story short, I was just interested by this graphic. Maybe you are too, but let's move on to the next question, which is, am I the only one excited for the breeze? It's so much of an exciting mechanic in my opinion, but it seems as though a lot of people aren't talking about it really. I think that the mechanic behind the breeze isn't that hype. By the way, I want to issue a correction for what I said in previous videos this week. I think it's important that I say when I'm wrong, and one of the things that I did get wrong wrong is I thought the breeze shot out a redstone pulse, but what it actually does is the breeze will shoot. If it shoots you, it damages you, and if it doesn't hit you, it instead causes an interaction pulse, so it will flick switches or it will trigger trapdoors, but it won't trigger redstone as best we can tell right now. And yeah, the other interesting point about the breeze is what if they had one for every element? Well, the breeze does look suspiciously like the blaze, right? Can we all agree on that? We've got a fire blaze and then we've got an air blaze, and so logically at some point we could get a water blaze and maybe an earth blaze too, one for each element. I'm just saying. The trial chambers are doing something that Minecraft hasn't really done for a while, and adding a new hostile mob that isn't a boss. It is just a new challenge to face, and I quite like it. And when you look through these scenes, it does look very, very intense, and I like the idea of them potentially doing more. By the way, just to be clear, the trial chambers will be underground, right? Or more like a woodland mansion. Well, as you can see from this very first shot of the 1.21 reveal, they are in the deep slate layers, and as I understand it, they didn't explicitly say, but I think you'll always find it deep underground. This is going to be some, not late game content, but mid to late game content. Not quite as deep as the ancient city, but somewhere on that level to give you things to explore in this super deep part of Minecraft. So that is exciting if you ask me. Speaking of things that are exciting, there's an interesting comment here from Panjaman2141. That is how you say that. What is your username, man? They said there is a slime spawner when they fought the breeze, just in case anyone missed that detail, and I was someone who missed that detail. I thought this was for sure a troll, and I went back and looked at the trailer, and you can see, so again, looking around here, you can see I went frame by frame. There is no frame for sure where we can say there is a slime spawner, but as you can see, while they're walking down the stairs, you can tell that there is a spawner of some description there, and it's surrounded by either grass or moss blocks. We can't be sure what it is, but there is a spawner, it's surrounded by grass and moss blocks, and then just 10 seconds later in the trailer, when they're fighting breezes, you will actually find that there are slimes bouncing around the place. So this could coincidentally be a slime chunk, but if it was, I don't think they'd use it for their big trailer, and so instead I think there is a stray spawner, a breeze spawner, and a slime spawner all in the same space, which makes this room feel very epic if you ask me, something I am very excited to see. Oh, and speaking of things I'm excited to see, because we are in the start of the 1.21 snapshots, and so we see more about the trail spawner, this comment from Laggy8Me says, I can imagine someone changing the trail spawner to spawn creepers, but here's the fun thing, because they're making a brand new type of spawner, now all of the rules about the old spawners can go out the window. A regular creeper spawner never works because a creeper explosion explodes it, but these trail spawner, spawners are presumably going to be either undestroyable or very, very hard to destroy because there's so much value in them, who is ever going to want to do so? And so if that is true, if it is going to be much more resistant, you could actually have a trail spawner that spawns out creepers, and this would not only be funny, in my opinion, it would also be a really interesting challenge, right? I mean, fighting a wave of creepers and they're exploding and launching creepers at you as they explode and creepers away from you, it would be a really fun part of a challenge. And imagine this room from before with the breeze, the strays, and the slimes, but there are creepers mixed in there too. This is actually a combat challenge that Minecraft is making. This is almost Minecraft Dungeons-esque with the tower. I am incredibly excited for the trail. I'm gonna keep calling it the trail ruins, but the trail chambers is something that excites me a lot, and that is why 1.21, the Trials and Tiles update, is one that I am fully on board with, and probably why I've spoken about it so much this last week. I know I have to make normal videos again soon. I know there's lots of Minecraft to talk about right now, but I just am so hyped about this one structure, and so that's why I've been building it, even in the background, maybe you've noticed. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, by the way. We are at its ends now. If you have enjoyed it, please consider liking the video. Also, did you know there's an update for the Let's Play world on the marketplace? I bet you might not have known that, and indeed, I'm working on a couple of new projects right now. They're going quite well, thank you for asking. But yeah, I will have something for you soon, and I hope that you enjoy it. But for now, have a good Friday. That's the most important thing, because I'll see you next time. Goodbye.